everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Hi, hello. Welcome to my July wrap up. July was something. I think really this year has just been settling into one of the less good reading years, numbers wise and also like quality wise. I say that having read like my favorite book of the year this month, but it just feels like nothing is really shining for this year. Like, yes, I've read a lot of books that were really, really good, but nothing is like making this year feel special, you know? I don't know. It's just a little odd, but I did end up reading 10 books this month, which is great because that is my goal every month, to read 10 books. I've barely done that this year because for some reason this year my reading is just a little behind, and that's okay. It happens. I was also a little shocked that I read 10 books this month because I was anticipating not being able to read a lot because I was anticipating editing my book for the whole month. I didn't really do that. I was waiting for my editor's edits for a long time and all that kind of stuff, and I ended up finishing Favorite Fae's edits the first weekend of August. So it didn't go exactly to plan in any aspect of the word, but that's totally fine. But also, because I'm here, a Favorite Fae comes out next week on the 14th of August. Have you pre-ordered your copy yet? Because I will love you forever if you do. The third book in my Cozy Fantasy standalone series. Yes, you can read them out of order. Yes, you can start with this one. Don't worry about it. They're all their own contained stories. So please go pick this up. If you love The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, you're gonna absolutely love this. There's demisexual rep, there's bisexual man rep, there's chronic pain rep, disability rep. Mary uses a mobility aid to get around sometimes. It's gardening, cottagecore, a little bit of like a splash of Beauty and the Beast in the ending, which you will tell when you get there. We got two animal companions. We got Thistle down here, who's a little black void, and we got Locke up here, who is a wormling, cousin to the dragon. So you guys are gonna love it. I just know you are. Anyways, a little bit of shameless self-promo, but we're here to talk about the books that I read in July. So we're gonna start. First off, I did a month-long reading vlog in July, which is not yet done, because the last book that I read for this month-long reading vlog was a DNF. And I don't want to end the video on a DNF, so I'm going to extend it into August. And now that I'm done editing my book, I have more time to read. I haven't read anything in August yet, and it is the 7th. So I need to get on that. But that one will be coming sometime in the next couple weeks once I read and finish that next book on that list. But I started this TBR random number generator thing because on TikTok there are so many different people doing like the Wheel of Shame type TBR things. I really wanted to get in on that, but I did not want to take all that time to make a wheel. That was gonna just be too much work. So instead, because on Storygraph, which is what I use Storygraph and Goodreads, I track everything everywhere. Everywhere. I have a journal, I have a spreadsheet, I have Storygraph, I have Goodreads, everywhere. On Storygraph, I used their owned books list, like the tag that you can tag your books under. I use that to track my physical books on Read on my TBR. So as soon as I read a book off that list, I remove it from that list. That list is always up to date, always on par with what I'm reading. I started the month with 160 some unread books on that list. I am ending the month with 169 books on that list, so I did not shrink that at all. It was a fail, even though I did read a few books for that video. But anyways, I say that because the first book I picked up in July was for that video, and that was Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. So what I did instead is I used a random number generator to basically generate a number between 1 and 160, whatever, counted in my Storygraph owned list, found a book that way. And this was the first one that it picked, which is great because this has been on my TBR for so fucking long. This was an interesting one. It really did not hit for me. It did not stick with me. There's a lot of books that I've been reading this year that are just like enjoyable in the moment, but don't stick with me past that. There's a couple of them in this month as well. But this one I gave 3 stars. It's cool. It's dystopian indigenous fantasy. It deals with some interesting like trickster, like coyotes in here and stuff like that. So familiar motifs that I have read in previous indigenous books that I have picked up before, motifs that I really enjoy. I really thought I was gonna absolutely eat this up and love this, but it just kind of fell flat. I don't know why. It's well written. There are interesting characters. I just never liked it more than I did when I started it. Like nothing changed for me, nothing affected me. I gave this 3 stars and I can't remember much about it. So this follows Maggie Hosky, who is a Dineta monster hunter. This reminded me of another book about monster hunters. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it here. It's by 2 different authors. Maybe also that's why it didn't quite work. Maybe monster hunters just don't work for me, which is so weird because that concept seems so cool to me. I don't know. But tried to read this one a couple years ago, and like Monster Hunter was like a lone Monster Hunter Geralt of Rivia figure was in this one. That's why this reminded me of that book when I was reading this. So we have Maggie Hosky. She's a supernaturally gifted killer for reasons. But when a small town needs help finding a missing girl, Maggie is their last best hope. What Maggie uncovers about the monster is much more terrifying than anything she could imagine. She enlists the help of someone by the name of Kai Arviso, an unconventional medicine man, and together they travel to Rez, unraveling clues from ancient legends, trading favors with tricksters, and battling dark witchcraft in a patchwork world of deteriorating technology. So it is definitely very sci-fi, fantasy, dystopian, a blend of genres. And honestly, I was thinking about continuing this series. Looking it up, the series is not continuing after book 2. From the sounds of it, because Rebecca Roanhorse is just not working on it, doesn't have really any deals for past book 2, so I don't think it's ever going to be finished. It's one of those series that are just gonna remain unfinished forever. So maybe one day I'll continue with the second book in this series, but for now, I'm getting rid of this book. I don't want it on my shelves. It's taking up room, but 3 stars. Then I picked up a library book. I picked up Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. This was my very first Alice Feeney. I picked it up because someone on TikTok mentioned it. I believe it was Steph. Can't remember her whole handle. I'll put it on the screen. She was talking about like Alice Feeney books that she loves, like her top 10 kind of a thing. And this was on that list. I can't remember where it was in this list, but when I went to the library to look up Alice Feeney books, I saw this one on the shelves and I was like, okay, great. I really enjoyed this. This, I ended up giving 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. Unreliable narrator, a little bit inspired by And Then There Were None, actually a lot inspired by And Then There Were None, but a really interesting twist on that. We have a family coming together to celebrate the grandma's 80th birthday, and they wake up in the middle of the night to find the grandma is dead on the floor. And it just kind of spirals from there. People keep dying, people keep dropping, all that kind of stuff. And our narrator is a very interesting narrator. I really liked this. I remember mentioning it to my friends, and one of my friends has read it and it didn't work for her though, so like, who's to say? I liked it. I read it in one sitting. It's a perfect like summary. I don't even think it's summary. It's like definitely cold and set on like this very isolated situation because this house gets cut off from like the causeway gets flooded with the tides every day, like at a time, and they know this. And so they have to like, you know, survive and also solve what's happening as the tide comes in and cuts them off from the world, so they can't go get like police or anything, and it's in the middle of the night and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, isolated thriller. I really liked it. Then I picked up another book for that TBR video that I was doing. I picked up Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. This is a really sweet, soft, cozy fantasy, very fall vibes. So if you're looking for a really good cozy to add to your list for this fall, put this on there. I enjoyed this. This is one of those books that I was like, wow, this is actually really enjoyable. It's well written, all this kind of stuff, 4 stars. I have not thought about this since I put it down. It's one of those books that doesn't really stay with you, but was really enjoyable and it gave me the right vibes. So there's that. It kind of gave me the vibes of like watching that one Meg Ryan movie with Tom Hanks, the You've Got Mail, because it's very shop around the corner, little bookshop type of thing. So we're following our main character, Belladonna Blackthorn, as she is nearing her 30th birthday, and she's a witch, but she hasn't been like using her powers or anything. She's kind of scared of them. She's also very scared of like anything, and she doesn't want to rush into any decisions and all this kind of stuff. She doesn't believe in herself, yada, yada, yada. She gets this offer, and she's had this offer on the table to buy the bookshop she works for and basically rescue it from the owner's absolutely terrible son, who's currently running it. And she's just like, but I just don't know. And then on her 30th birthday, she gets this like summons to retest her magic, basically to see if she gets to keep her magic for the rest of her life, to see if she's been using it for good. And as they're testing her, they basically roast the fuck out of her for doing absolutely nothing in her life and kind of choosing moments of magic that aren't necessarily good and a little bit manipulative, and it's all this kind of stuff. So then they have this big moment of like, wow, we don't know if we can actually let you keep your magic. And it ends up being this kind of like, well, what if she retrains with this one guy who used to be this outcast type of thing, and then we retest her in like 30 days on like Halloween or whatever, because it's October, there's a loophole in the rules, that kind of a thing. So it's, you know, coming to love yourself, regrowing of powers, becoming more sure of yourself, which I love. I love narratives like that. So I really did enjoy this. And when I think about it, I do really like it. It's just not one of those ones that's like top of mind obsessive, you know, but definitely very cozy, and I highly recommend for October cozy vibes, because this is set in October, it oozes fall. Highly recommend that. Then another one from that video, I picked up The Cat Who Saved the Library by Sasuke Natsukawa. This is the sequel, companion sequel, you don't necessarily need to read them in order, to The Cat Who Saved Books by the same author. I have not read The Cat Who Saved Books, I've only read this one. And this one fell really flat for me, I gave it 2.5 stars. The cozy vibes were cozying, but this is so weird. Like, it read like a weird middle grade novel that wasn't quite polished enough. I wrote in my notes in my journal that it had the vibe of an adventure Studio Ghibli movie, and I think it would have done better as a Studio Ghibli movie. Like, I would have gotten the weird little kind of quirky adventure vibes because it was a little more surface level than anything else, and it just didn't quite work for me. So it follows this girl with asthma, which we love, you know, disability representation. A little girl with asthma discovers that books from her library are disappearing by this really mysterious man. He's taking them. And so this cat, who is from The Cat Who Saved Books, this beautiful orange baby, which is kind of why I picked up this book, because this cover is so nice. And there's a cat on the cover, so of course I did. But he comes up to her and he can talk. He's like a talking cat, and he's like, we have to save this. We have to like figure this out. And so they go on this little quest together. There's a lot of like, kind of like Brew the Wardrobe vibes of Narnia type situations. So that was fun. It was an enjoyable experience. I don't know. And the audiobook narrator really sucks. Like, he was bad. He just didn't, It was not good. I did not like the audiobook narrator, but I finished it. So there's that. But yeah, 2.5 stars for this one. Then that video rolled for me a sequel of a duology that I was like, great, awesome, amazing. I have not read that book since 2020. I need to pick it up and reread it. So I ended up reading the duology of The Merciful Crow and The Faithless Hawk. I don't actually know if this has a duology like title or anything. These are by Margaret Owen, who also wrote Little Thieves. And I remember reading The Merciful Crow back in 2020. I gave this 5 stars in 2020. I don't know what 2020 Jenna was on, because this is a 3.5 star book. Like, it is not that good, okay? It is like, this duology as a whole together, like, honestly is a really good backlist older duology, because it was, obviously, I think it released in 2019 and 2020 vibes. It is so queer and diverse for that time. Like, it shocked me. We have a casual bisexual man in here. Love that. We love that. I love seeing bisexual men rep, honestly. I don't know, the magic system in here was really cool, and I think that's why 2020 me gave this book 5 stars when I first read it, because the magic system was something unlike I've ever read, and I still have yet to read a magic system like it. And it has inspired me for my next trilogy that I'm writing in like the magic system, a very specific aspect of it. So that's really cool. But this duology, first book I gave 3.5 stars, second book I gave 4 stars. I really enjoyed the reading experience of this once I got into it. So again, the audiobook narrator was weird. And the audiobook narrator was weird. She chose to narrate the like narration of the book in an American normal, it's an American accent, like the normal American accent, the flat one, not the Southern, not anything like that, just whatever, American, you know? And then she chose to do all the dialogue in a Scottish Welsh kind of accent. And I was like, why? I understand, because these books are written in a very specific way. Like, they are very voicey, and it's kind of hard to get into, to be honest, but it's fine. I got into it. We're fine. But like, why not pick an audiobook narrator who actually has those accents so that it is all cohesive, you know? I don't know. It was a little odd. The audiobook narrator, again, it was just a little weird, but highly recommend these books because I think they have a really interesting take on our traditional like YA yearning duology with like an interesting love interest with quest narratives and stuff like that. So this follows our main character, Fae, who is a crow. And in this world, there are like ranking different bird level of people, and like everyone above a crow has a magical ability and crows do not. But crow witches, which Fae is, can essentially like use the teeth or the bones of the people from the other castes to use their power through that bone. So it's teeth magic. It's very interesting. It's very visceral. And so Fae is like learning this magic and like getting better at this magic throughout these 2 books. And also the crows in this world are immune to the plague, which is what they do. They basically just walk the roads and they go and they take people out of these cities from the plague, because it's a very interesting, like almost sentient plague. Because as soon as someone dies with the plague, it spreads like wildfire, but it doesn't spread before that, which is really interesting. I don't know. The plague in here was really cool. I enjoyed this a whole heck of a lot, and I think reading the second book made the first book even better. I think this is great. If you're looking for a new duology that is completed, that has an interesting voice, really wonderful characters, and really cool magic, really concrete, settled world building, these are your answer. Then I picked up another library book. I picked up When the Tides Held the Moon by Vanessa Vita Kelly. This one surprised me how much I ended up enjoying it. I wasn't really into it for the first half. I don't know why. I was like enjoying the reading experience. It was fine. I was intrigued by it. But by the end, I was like, that was actually incredibly wonderful. I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. This is a Achillean romantasy between a man who is from Puerto Rico. He's in New York. He's a Nuyorican. He's a gay Nuyorican in like the 1910s, actually. It's before the 1920s. It's 1910s. The height of Coney Island. And he ends up getting this opportunity to build this opulent cage tank situation, and he's a masterwork at his metalcraft. But because he's a person of color, he has asthma as well, he gets beat on all the time by the world, by his peers, by all this kind of stuff, right? So he ends up losing his job, but ends up getting a job with the kind of curiosity show that originally he built the tank for. And because of that, he gets looped into going to hunt the creature that is going to be kept in this tank, which ends up being a merman. Beningo, our main character, ends up creating this deep, wonderful connection with Rio, our merman. And I loved Rio's point of view that was interspersed in this. I loved the gentle world building that we get with Rio and the historical nature of it. It was so lovely. And the cast of characters is so incredible. It's so diverse, and it's all like the odds and ends of people. It's the people who are never fitting in anywhere else because of how they look or what they do or that kind of a thing. And so we have a black strong man, we have a fat woman, we have a little person from India. She is like 2 feet tall. And then we have a giant man from Russia. He is extremely tall. And we have a gay couple who end up, kind of playing that they are conjoined twins. One of them has lost a leg in his backstory for reasons, and it's them. And then there's like, it's just a woman who's like the pretty eye candy of the man who runs the show. And he's also just a fucking crook. And it was great. It reminded me of The Greatest Showman a little bit, but like the kind of the more true version of The Greatest Showman, because we all know that man was not actually a good man. Really, really liked it. It's so sweet, so soft, and it genuinely, like, it felt like a cozy read to me because it was just heartwarming and hopeful, and the end was lovely. I really, really enjoyed this, and I highly recommend it. And throughout the entire thing, the author illustrated like bits to be included in it. So highly recommend that. Go pick it up today. And the audiobook is fucking banger, honestly. Banger audiobook, banger physical book. If you can, read them in tandem because they're just a great experience to have. Then I read my favorite book of the year, The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. This book, if you saw a couple of my reading vlogs, it took me a while to read this book because I did not want to finish reading it. I was like in that delicious mood of like, oh my god, I have not had this in a long time, where you want to finish a book, like you do not want to put it down because you're enjoying it so much, but you also don't want to finish it because you don't want to be done with it. Like you never want to be done with the story. You always want to be reading it and experiencing it. That was this one for me. It was so good, so funny. I love the narration style in here. It's got some quirkiness to it. This is another one pick up the audiobook for because the audiobook narrator was phenomenal. And she does some really interesting things because the narration in here is also very interesting. Like we have these little slips and in and out with this entity called the Raven. And when they are narrating, the narrator of the audiobook like changes her voice to be very clear that it's the Raven narrating now. And it's so good. I loved this book so much. Like we have the level of political intrigue, we have betrayals, we have incredible magic in this world and world building and all this kind of stuff, and it's such cool people too. From the beginning, I only really liked our main character because she's fucking hilarious, and she's also she's one of those people that has to correct everyone in like not in an annoying way to me anyways, but like it was very endearing, like oh she just is that person. She's also over the age of 30, so if you want a protagonist that is a little older than our usual fantasy 20-year-old protagonist, this is where you're gonna get another one. Nima is fantastic. Hated Kane, hated Ruko. I'm still on the fence about Kane and Ruko at the end of this, but like the character growth and the unraveling of like what we get in this book from the characters is just so good. Highly recommend. Fantasy mystery with a competition that actually makes sense. Like, don't fear the competition book title. This makes sense. Like, it makes so much sense. So in here, it's 24 years of a current emperor's reign. And because in this world, the emperor like gets changed out every 24 years so that we keep the peace. It can't be a descendant of the emperor. It has to be someone brand new from a new faction within here. So we have the ravens, the foxes, the dragons, the et cetera, right? There's a game set up. So they put forth all their best people, the people who have been training for this for like the past 8 years or whatever, when they announce that it's going to happen. All these people come together and they like compete. So there are physical fighting trials, and then there are also trials set up by every single one of the factions. So like the fox trial is very cunning and very wily. We have the raven trial, which is just a test. They all fall like very specifically in like the vein of those people and the values that they believe in and all this kind of stuff. One of the people in this gets murdered at the beginning before the trial even really starts. And so our main character, Anima, has to join. She has to join the trials to be able to figure out if she murdered this person or who did. And like she starts uncovering some random shit because she was drugged that night and all this kind of stuff. Like it's layered, it's wonderful, highly recommend. I don't know if that was clear, but I gave that 5 stars. That was my favorite book of the year. Obviously I gave it 5 stars. I haven't had many, but I loved it. Then I read She's a Lamb by Meredith Hambrock on my Kobo. This was a book club read. I enjoyed this more than most of the book club reads we've picked for this book club with me and my friends. I gave this 3.5 stars. It was weird. It was theatrical. It's about this girl who desperately wants the part of Maria in The Sound of Music. And she is so determined to become a star in the musical theater scene. She's also incredibly delulu. And it's a train wreck from top to bottom. It's like comped a little bit to Yellowface, not in the racial commentary, in the train wreck main character commentary. Like, it's a lot. It was fun. And it's a Canadian author, so we love that. But that's all I'm telling you about this one. Fucking brutal, insane. I love where it went at the end, but the very ending was too short. It would have gotten a 4-star if it wasn't for that, like, abrupt cut, to be honest. But anyways. And then finally, I ended the month with Road to Ruin by Hannah Lee. I forgot I read this, so I ended up giving this 3 stars. It sounds like something I would love. It's, again, kind of like Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. Like, this was good. Good writing, interesting characters, very interesting world building, all that kind of stuff. I just didn't care about much of it. It was one of those. I don't know why. I really don't. This follows Jinlu, who is a courier, and she has this power in this world. There are the talented, I guess they're called. Are they the talented? Oh, I can't remember. It's kind of like Graceling, where there are select few people who have these specific powers. Our courier has like a spark power, so she can like ride mage bikes, which are made for people specifically with this power so that she is like running the mage bike essentially with her magic. She is a courier between these 2 people from like different city things that are in very different situations politically with these people who have powers. She's in love with both of them, which is kind of fun. We have just a disaster bisexual, which is so funny. But so Jin is going between these 2 places, and she ends up getting asked by the princess that she's in one of the places to help her escape, essentially, to go to the other guy, because the princess is also in love with this other man, right? Because they're talking to each other through letters. They're like love letters, right? So Jin gets caught up in the situation, and it's basically just this realizing what's going on with the world slowly as they're also fleeing and trying to get to the next place safely and all this kind of stuff. So I will continue with the duology. I will get the second one eventually and read it, but this one just did not hit for me. I don't know why. 3 stars. Because this is loved by people who read it. So definitely pick this up if like a sci-fi dystopian fantasy is interesting to you. Kind of giving Mad Max fantasy. That's really what it gave to me. But as someone who's never watched Mad Max. But yes, my friends, so those are all the books that I read this month. Let me know down below what your favorite book of the month was. Let me know what your first couple reads or first read of August was, because I'm very curious. I'm currently reading Parable of the Talents by Octavia E. Butler, which is going to be probably my first read of August, but you will have to subscribe and watch my next wrap up to find out what I end up actually reading in August. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I will catch you guys in another video very soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.